Now, Muslim students in the South Indian state of Karnataka who'd taken their fight to wear a hijab at school to the Supreme Court remain unable to do so after judges delivered a split verdict. After months of deliberating, the country's top court has been unable to come to a decision on whether headscarves should be allowed in the classroom. The existing ban has been upheld, but the issue will now be sent to the country's Chief Justice to be heard again. Our South Asia correspondent Regina Vaidyanathan is in Delhi and has more.
This was a highly anticipated verdict. What was essentially a debate in local schools in Karnataka became a national and even international issue, which touched on some of the wider themes that keep popping up in today's India around the right to religious freedom, religious identity, and the debate around whether the Hindu nationalist government here is undermining the rights of India's large Muslim minority. Now, this case was essentially about the rights of young Muslim women in Karnataka at a couple of different schools to be able to wear their hijab in the classroom. Now, they said it was part of their constitutional right and freedom of religious expression, but they were turned away at the gates of their school earlier this year, and that is because the education authority said that they had changed their policies and that there was a strict uniform code that had been brought in, which meant they weren't allowed to wear their headscarves. Now, the education authorities say this was not about religion at all, but the young women argued that it was. And what we saw today was essentially an inconclusive decision from India's Supreme Court. The ban on wearing a headscarf is effectively upheld because some of those appeals were thrown out by the court, but the court wasn't unanimous in its decision, and that is why this case has now been referred to the Chief Justice of India to now take a look at it. But there were huge protests earlier this year. This became a huge talking point. Those images of those girls not being allowed into the schools and the protests that surrounded it became big news here, and so people will be watching this case closely because still we don't know what the outcome is, but for now it means that those young women still can't attend school wearing their headscarves.
That's Regina Vaidyanathan reporting there on the situation in the Indian state of Karnataka and the headscarf ban that some of those students face.